Alright, Horror Hounds, welcome to another episode of This Just In. Today we're going to be reviewing The Menu. The Menu came out in November to theaters, and I believe in around January time, maybe it was December, it came to HBO Max. And it is currently on there. So you can watch it on HBO Max if you'd like, check it out for yourself and finish my review, or you can stick around and hear what I have to say about it. So overall, The Menu was a fun movie. The cinematography in it was really good. It was all shot very well. It is kind of a thriller, not really horror, but it does have some horrific moments in it. And it has some great dark comedy in it. And the cast is really, really good. We follow the main girl the whole time. Her name is Margot, but that's not really her name. She's played by Anna Taylor-Joy. She does a great job with this part. You got the chef, the main guy of the movie. That's Chef Slowik. It's played by Ralph Fiennes. And then you get a whole cast of characters. You get the couple who have been regulars to this restaurant 10, 11 times. You get a group of young hotshots who are embezzling money. And they just wanted to go because fuck it. We can say we've been here, and that's what matters most. You get a good group with an actor who's way past his prime as an actor. That's played by John Leguizamo. He does a good job in that role as well. He has a mistress, so the girl's not his woman, but his side chick. She knows that she steals money from him. It is what it is. It's one of those type relationships. You have a food critic in there with a guy who pretty much is a yes man to anything she says. He says one thing, she kind of says something different, and he's like, oh yeah, you're right. And always takes her side. He never stands up for himself or how he feels. And then you get Tyler, who is a foodie. He loves everything there is about food. He knows everything there is about food. And he's the one who brings Margot with him. And we see things play out as the night goes on. During this meal, which is the menu, we'll see things go a little bit more crazy, a little bit more further pushed. And the whole storyline and what's happening kind of breaks down as it goes along and turns into one big kind of crescendo at the end. That would probably be my only downfall of the movie. It wasn't a bad ending, but everything ramped up as the movie went along, and the ending kind of fell a little flatter than the rest of it. It was comedic, and I understand the touch on it and the comedy behind it, but I just felt like it kind of left off as the tension built throughout the whole movie. It just kind of went at the very end. But overall, this was a good movie. I would recommend people to watch it. If I go into a little bit more details, so I guess some spoilers ahead. But my overall rating of this movie from the get-go is I would give this a 4 out of 5, maybe even a 4.5. It was a good movie. It left me entertained the entire time. Nothing really annoyed me. I mean, there is some things where you got to kind of suspend disbelief like you do with every horror movie. But they're not over the top. And it's not silly, stupid type of comedy. The comedy that comes in there kind of just hits at the perfect time. And it's not too much. There's not too much of it as well. It just is very subtle in its comedy. Kind of dry at times, which I love dry humor. It's more of my favorite when it comes to movies and TV shows. Obviously. But getting into the actual spoilers of the movie, so they're all meeting. They got to take a boat and go out to this island in order to eat at this restaurant called Hawthorne. And at Hawthorne, the meal is the experience. So Tyler says right off the bat, this is going to be good. It's, $1,250 a person or something a plate, whatever it is. So it's the highest end of high-end restaurants you could possibly go to. Once you get in there, it's, it looks like your typical high-end fancy restaurant. Like, everything is clean. You can watch the chefs cooking everything. It's got the glass windows so you can see out on the ocean. Everything about it is nice and clean, and it looks like what you would expect in that situation. And then the chef comes out and you meet him, and he is exactly what you would expect from a high-end chef. His dishes are better looking than everybody else's for the most part. He won't even let you photograph them. He has stories that he tells on them, and as Tyler explains in it, when you go to his restaurant, you might not understand what's happening in the beginning with the first course, but as the courses go along, his whole meal and menu tells a story. And this story is a little different than any other one he's ever told before. So it ramps up. They start with the first dish. And the funny thing about the dishes is every time they show them, they show the dish and they put the card up of like what the title of the dish is and what's inside of it. And if you pay attention to those title cards and actually read them as they go along, they get funnier with some of the different dishes that you have. But the first one that really ramps it up is when you're watching what is called The Mess. And The Mess, he's talking about a guy who's a chef with him, wants to be him, wishes he was him, but he's just not. He's not as good as him. And he never will be. And he asks him if he wants the life that the chef has. And he says no. And they all look to see what he's going to do when he prepares the mess. And he puts a gun in his mouth and blows his head off. Boom! Dead by suicide. But this is where you kind of think, okay, this is kind of culty a little bit. And, they tell them all, stay seated. It's all part of the menu. It's fine. They roll them up in the white, tarp that they put down. And they had these, island leaves that were on this tarp when he was going to do this magnificent meal of the mess. And it's kind of funny to watch them as they just kind of roll them up and walk them out that was nothing. But the guests are freaking out. The couple that have been there forever, that guy freaks out and wants to leave, and they tell him to pick a left hand or a right hand. He doesn't pick, so they pick for him, and they cut off his ring finger. And then they hand the ring back to his wife. And like I said, it ramps up as it goes from here. They hand out tortilla shells, and on these tortilla shells, they've engraved pictures of these people that are incriminating, for the young hotshots that are embezzling money. He has all their accounts and all the information on these tortilla shells. And then for the couple that go there all the time, it shows him with a woman at a dining room table because he was cheating on his wife. For the guy, Tyler, who just loves food and everything else, he can't help himself. He takes pictures of the food when he's not supposed to, so they actually engrave pictures of him at the table there that night, taking pictures of his food. And for the actor, they do put in one of the movies that he was in as some of the stuff on there. And then they have a whole scene where they're going to all go outside now. The girl came up with the dish. I don't remember this one. I just know that from the scene she stabs the chef right in the penis with a pair of scissors. And then the guys get to take off and hide, and they're supposed to hear what their prize is if they win, but before the chef can finish his thing, the one guy takes off running. But when they all get found out, the guy who gets caught last wins some egg thing that he gets to eat. Whatever. There is a story where he's telling about, for taco night with the chicken. He said that his dad used to come home drunk and hit his mother, and he was choking over the cord. And he was a little boy and he didn't know what to do, so he grabbed a pair of scissors and he stabbed him in the thigh. And that's why he serves you the thigh with the scissors in it. So it goes on further, and then he's this whole time trying to figure out who is Margot, what's going on with her. He has conversations with her. He corners her in the bathroom. He gets to the point where he says, everybody is going to die tonight. Do you want to die with them or with us? Are you a giver or are you a taker? And he gives her the opportunity to figure out if she wants to die on which side, with the chefs and the people who serve other people, or the people who sit in the dining room and just take and are never satisfied. So you find out this moral of the story is, in a sense, is he busts his ass for so long trying to stay the top, trying to make the best dishes, trying to do all this stuff. And for what? For people who just don't give a fuck. People don't care. He can put his life's work into this stuff and people don't care. So he has decided that tonight he was going to bring in all these people who are generally all bad people, in a sense. And he's going to kill everyone and himself and his whole team. And it's going to be his final night in the menu. So, like I said, it goes on. It ramps up a little higher. We get to see some other deaths and things like that. At one point, with Tyler, he corners him and said, you know, you knew what the tools were we were using. You were able to taste the exact ingredient within the tea because you know so much about food. Why don't you come up here and cook me a dish? So he improvises in the night because he's getting pissed off, and he has Tyler cook a dish. And he tells Tyler that his dish is terrible. Then he whispers something to Tyler, and Tyler walks in the back. And we find out later, he told him to go hang himself. So, prior to that, sorry, jumped ahead. When he corners Tyler at the table, he told Tyler how he told him that everybody was going to die here tonight. Correct? And Tyler said yes. And he said, but you couldn't come with your guests. Why? And he said, because they broke up. And he said, so why are you here? And he said, because I can't come alone. So Margot is actually an escort that he's paying to be there so she could die. Just so he could enjoy this food before he knew he was going to die. Because he's looked up to this chef so much. He's watched all of his documentaries, everything there is. He knows everything about him. So that's a little bit fucked up. But since Margot decides she's going to be a server and not a taker, she gets a special role from the chef to go get some barrel. When she goes to get the barrel, she sneaks into the chef's office. She sees some things on the wall before his henchwoman, the woman that's by his side for the most of the stuff and kind of pushing it along, attacks her because she doesn't want to be replaced, even though she knows they're all going to die. So what the fuck does it matter? If she takes your spot, what, next to him dying? Well, we get a knife scuffle here, and Margot kills her. And then Margot takes the barrel back. And during this whole thing, when things are going down, Margot understands that it's time for the last dish, and she goes out on a limb because she saw a picture in his office of him happy making a burger, and she said that she's sending the food back. She hasn't liked anything yet, and she's still hungry. He asks her what she wants, and she said a cheeseburger. And not no fancy fucking cheeseburger. She wants a good old traditional American cheeseburger. So then he goes and makes her a cheeseburger, and she takes a bite. And she talks about how amazing it is, and she says that she's kind of full, her eyes were bigger than she thought, and she'd like to take it to go. So he begs it for her, and she leaves $10 on the table because he told her it was $9.95, and he opens the door and lets her leave. Everybody else is just kind of standing there. So then he's like, okay, it's time for dessert, and this is the ending I thought was kind of silly. But he sprinkles this dust all around, and it looks like graham cracker dust. And he puts these little vests on everybody that are made of marshmallows, and he puts like a chocolate top hat type thing on their head. And his big dish is s'mores. He says that it's the shittiest of all dishes, and it felt fitting for tonight. And he goes and stands in the center where all that dust type stuff was. It looks like it's graham cracker crusts. And he drops a match, and they all burn up, and then you see her driving off in the boat, and the place kind of like explodes in the background. And that was the big crescendo. He killed everybody by s'mores. So that's pretty much the whole movie in a nutshell. Like I said, hopefully you watched the movie before you saw this review. I did probably miss a few things here and there because I'm going off the top of my head. Watched it last night. I didn't take any notes. I decided I just want to watch this movie and see if I enjoy it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. All of the acting is good. Chef Slowik, he is portrayed perfectly as like one of those fancy little chefs, but also very sinister. Like you can feel his anger and his hatred towards people. Margot does a good job, kind of playing as if she's somebody else because she plays as if she's somebody else the whole time as an escort. And all the characters do a pretty good job. There is some referential humor in here. Like at one point, he says to all the people, like, why didn't you ever fight back? You probably could have taken us. And they all just kind of stare at each other like, huh, yeah, why didn't we fucking do that? And that's, why didn't they? Why didn't they ever choose to fight back? But they never did. And they pretty much all just knew they were shitty people and that they were going to die. But as a bonus, his reason for having John Leguizamo there was because he did some movie, and the chef sat down on a Sunday, which is his day to enjoy himself. He popped in this movie, and it was the biggest piece of shit he's ever seen. And now, whenever he sees his face, he just fucking hates him. And that's why he invited him there to die. I thought that was hilarious. It was just a good comedic reason for why we randomly threw this guy in there. And when they're talking about it, John Leguizamo's like, yeah, I get it. It was a terrible movie. But overall, movie was great. It was fun. If you haven't seen it, go on HBO Max. Watch it. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the movie, whether you liked it or not, or if you plan on watching it at this time. Maybe this review helps you want to watch it, because it was a very, very good movie for dark humor. Until the next one, guys, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you with my next video. Rest in peace.